Throw your scales away. I mean it. The scale doesn't tell you how much fat you've lost nor how much muscle you've gained, both of which are vital to your health. Numerous patients and clients have told me that they gave up on exercise programs because they were gaining weight. When asked to describe their program, it was obvious they were adding much needed muscles, which are more dense than fat, thus the weight gain. Then, when they thought they were gaining fat, they made a common mistake. They cut calories. Cutting calories is generally a disastrous thing. The body's response to calorie restriction is to decrease the number of enzymes in the body that burn fat and increase the number of enzymes that store fat. The body soon begins altering hormone output and slowly slowing your metabolic rate so you can survive with a reduced fuel level. The harder you exercise, the more stress you put on a starving body and the slower your metabolism becomes. This happens because the thyroid continues to downregulate your metabolism to keep you alive. If you eat according to your primal pattern diet type, you won't be as likely to overeat, as it is hard to overeat when you consume adequate amounts of fat. Dieters, be aware that if you follow the program outlined in this book, you might gain weight and you might get slightly bigger before you get lighter and smaller. In short, this happens because you've got to convince your physiology that you won't ever starve yourself again. The more you've skipped meals or been on a diet and the longer you've been eating incorrectly for your primal pattern diet type, the more likely it is you'll go through a period of weight gain. Generally, clients in this category gain between 6 and 12 pounds in the first 8 weeks of eating and training correctly. Then, like magic, they start dropping pounds and shrinking at a rate that is often faster than seems normal. Muscle is the most metabolically active tissue in your body. Increasing the number of active muscle cells improves your ability to burn up that unwanted fat. Once past the initial phase of reprogramming your physiology, you'll look and feel better each week. Focus on how well your clothes are fitting instead of on your weight. Your body wants to be healthy and fit. It's literally designed to be so. Mother Nature makes no mistakes. No pain, no gain. Don't believe it? Next time someone tells you that, tell them Pt.18 says pain equals no gain. Your Eat, Move, and Be Healthy program is all about training smarter, not harder. Our goal is to train, not drain. Your body gets stronger at rest, not when you're exercising. Exercise is merely the stimulus that triggers the growth and repair response that builds more muscle, increases metabolism, and makes you stronger. Your Eat, Move, and Be Healthy program focuses on compound exercises. Such exercises use more muscle so they burn more calories, which will in turn increase your metabolic rate. Many Swiss ball and primal pattern exercises use practically every muscle in your body at once. This is the best way to elevate your metabolism and burn off unwanted fat. About medical drugs. If you're currently on at least one medical drug, you should always have your doctor approve participation in your exercise program. Also consider the following precautions about medical drugs while on this program. 1. As your body begins to feel, look, and function better on your Eat, Move, and Be Healthy program, the same doses of medication may begin to produce more pronounced side effects. This is because the healthier you become, the less your body generally needs of any given drug. If you notice unusual symptoms, consult your doctor about reducing your dose or stopping the drugs altogether. 2. Some drugs are addictive and should be eliminated over time. Don't go cold turkey with medical drugs without your doctor's guidance. 3. Many drugs such as beta blockers affect heart rate and blood pressure, sometimes making it difficult for you to elevate your heart rate even during exercise. You need to know the side effects of any drug you're taking to understand why you feel a given way as your body's physiological functioning improves. I recommend referring to the book Drug Facts and Comparisons to get the truth on side effects. You can also consult Mosby's Drug Consult CD for a comprehensive listing of side effects. Knowing the side effect of a drug is very important. I've known people to give up on a good diet and exercise program because they thought the diet or exercise was causing unwanted symptoms. However, when I researched the symptoms and cross reactions of drug combinations, I discovered that they were actually due to the drugs. Never exercise on pain medications you can't feel what you're doing to your body and may get hurt. Can crunches burn fat off the midsection? Anyone with basic training in physiology knows you can't spot reduce with exercise. In other words, working the muscles in a targeted section of the body will not reduce the fat there. Still, so-called experts continue to fill the airwaves with this false message. It's simply not true. If it were, there'd be a hell of a lot of people with six-packs, because there are millions of people doing their 100 plus sit-ups or crunches a day and have more of a wash tub than a washboard to show for it. Don't overuse aerobic exercise. Many people are obsessed with aerobic exercise these days. While a certain level of cardiovascular activity is healthy, you don't need to beat yourself up with a daily running regimen or by going to step class 5 times a week. Though some people stay fit and trim on an aerobic-based fitness program, one size doesn't fit all. Two main problems arise with excessive cardio training: muscular imbalances and related injury and poor results. Have you noticed runners who look as if they're in severe pain as they run down the road? If your body is in balance, repetitive movements such as running or aerobics are going to constantly stress the weak areas, further worsening the situation. You don't need aerobic activity 3 times a week for 30 minutes to be fit. Consider how fit and beautiful sprinters and other track and field athletes look. It's sacrilegious for a sprinter to do aerobic exercise. Chunky Aerobics Instructor Syndrome, CAIS, is a term I learned from strength coach Charles Poliquin. Poliquin found that his athletes and clients quickly adapted to aerobic exercise, but soon found they were unable to keep body fat off with aerobics alone. His research led him to conclude that the body adapts to any given stimulus very quickly, and for the best results he needed to frequently change the program for his athletes. Not too long ago, after Poliquin told me about the CIS, I remember reading a report on the findings of a study on body fat percentages that backed up Poliquin's observations. The researchers found that professional female aerobics instructors who averaged 3 hours of teaching daily maintained a body fat of 22 to 24%, while female step instructors had roughly 19% body fat. These body fat percentages may seem low compared to anyone with a Budweiser tumor over their belt line, but consider that the average Olympic athlete hovers around 13% body fat for females and 8% for males, and many of them train less than 3 hours a day. Go to any gym for proof of CAIS. There you'll find women who have logged thousands of miles on their favorite treadmill, or who have worn out 3 sets of pedals on their favorite stepper, yet their body shape never seems to improve. If you don't find them on the machines, you can usually find them in the snack bar buying another bottle of fluorescent blue sugar water and some designer performance bar. So what's the answer? Keep your body guessing. There are many effective ways to keep lean and not overutilize aerobics. Here are some options. Mix your training schedule by alternating resistance training days with aerobic days. Rest a day in between or after these 2 training days. You can also add aerobics training to the end of a resistance training workout. I especially recommend this for females who fear bulking up with resistance training, because aerobic training causes the release of glucocorticoids, which are stress hormones. Stress hormones are catabolic, which means they're tissues destructive and will prohibit formation of additional muscle tissue. This is one of the reasons many distance runners look like they've just escaped a gulag work crew where their biggest meal was 4.5 pinto beans and scent of beetroot. As little as 15 to 30 minutes of aerobic training a day will do the trick on resistance training days. And 30 minutes is acceptable as a workout with most aerobic activities. More is often just longer, not necessarily better. Mix your aerobic activities regularly. Perform 3 to 5 minutes of an aerobic activity and then immediately jump to a different machine or another form of aerobics. Continue switching this for about 30 minutes. Athletes in better condition can train longer as needed. Change the type of aerobic activity for each workout. For best results, choose activities that your body hasn't adapted to. Try something new. Perform a given aerobic workout, alternating days with resistance training or sports training or participation. Do this for no longer than 2 weeks if you're more of a cat type. Get bored easily. And 3 weeks if you are a salamander type. Enjoy repetitive activities. Change the movement, change the exercise. In other words, if you try doing the activity backwards and sideways while juggling, your motor system is challenged enough so that you won't adapt to the exercise so quickly. Try running backwards for a quarter mile out of every mile you run, and you'll likely feel a significant difference. Use interval training. This is why elite endurance athletes are lean, while gym rats who abuse aerobics look like poster children for Syndrome X. When you mix 30 seconds to 3 minutes of intense effort, periods of 80 to 90% or more of maximum effort, with 30 seconds to 5 minutes of rest between efforts, the metabolic adaptations are similar in effect to resistance training, but without the muscle mass development. Sprinters often develop muscle mass by using 10 to 100 meter sprints with 1 to 5 minutes rest and no other training. This type of training can be effective if done once a week, initially progressing to 2 to 3 times a week for the intermediate and advanced exercises. Circuit weight training. Circuit training with free weights is an excellent way to build your heart and lung capacity while building improved muscle tone and increasing your metabolic rate. There are many sorts of circuits, such as the sample programs in this book. Some additional options are a circuit of 12 to 18 exercises, 30 repetitions of each exercise with 60 to 90 seconds rest between circuits. Perform 1 to 2 circuits. Go for 30 minutes to 1 hour as fast as you can with good form, through 10 to 14 exercises. This can include cardio machines, weights, calisthenics, and even sporting activities like hitting a heavy bag. Use 5 resistance training exercises sequenced from the most complex to least complex, focusing primarily on big functional exercises like squats, lunging, rowing, cable pushing, chin-ups, etc. Take 60 to 90 seconds of rest between circuits and build up to 4 circuits. Less is more. Yes, you read correctly. Less is more. When I was the trainer of the U.S. Army boxing team, I told athletes that it was always better to undertrain than to overtrain. This is because the undertrained fighters always had reserves, but the overtrained fighters lacked staying power for the long, hard sparring sessions and fights. In addition, overtraining suppresses the immune system, resulting in infections and chronic fatigue. Don't stress over your exercise program. If you aren't enjoying your training, find something that you can enjoy. The secret is to make it a lifestyle change. If you try to go about your exercise program like a sprinter, you're sure to burn out. Go about it as though your goal was to make the most beautiful body in the world from the inside out. Remember, it's a lifetime project, and missing a session now and then is just fine. Be consistent. Enjoy yourself. The joy of doing it will have more health benefits than stressing over the day you missed. Flattening your abs after pregnancy. Today, many women have distended abdominal muscles years after having children. Sadly, this is unnecessary. The abdominal muscles go through a unique lengthening process when a woman becomes pregnant. As the fetus grows, there's increased stretch placed on the abdominal wall from the inside. This stretch force causes the body to add functional units called sarcomeres to the abdominal muscles, making them progressively longer. After childbirth, the stretch force is reduced and the sarcomeres begin reducing in number. Normally, the muscles should return to normal length. Unfortunately, this natural rebounding process may not occur if the woman becomes pregnant again too soon, gains excess weight, or has a cesarean section. If the female becomes pregnant again before her body has fully restored itself to normal muscle length tension ratio, posture, and body weight, there's a greater chance with each additional child that the body may not remember what it should be like. I have noticed that female clients who have had more than 2 children in a 2-year period or less have higher incidence of abdominal wall dysfunction. In some American Indian tribes, it was forbidden for a brave to get a female pregnant more often than once every 3 years. The elders knew from experience that this weakened the woman so much that it was a threat to the survival of the tribe. Some women use pregnancy as an excuse to eat everything in sight. In no time, their torso looks more like a self-storage unit with everything but the roll-up doors. It's important to remember that you get fat from the inside out. Your abdominal muscles don't differentiate between stretch from a fetus, and stretch from fat. Either will induce a stretch force, keeping the muscles long and resulting in an unattractive abdominal wall, not to mention increasing your chances of back pain. Cesarean sections can cause a lot of problems for females. I've rehabilitated numerous females with low back pain that developed within 3 to 6 months after having a cesarean section. When the doctor cuts through the abdominal wall, the muscles are wounded. There are 3 layers of muscles comprising the abdominal wall, and when the layers of muscles are sewn back together, scarring occurs, leaving significant adhesions and causing dysfunction in the abdominal wall. When there's scarring and adhesions, muscle fibers as well as independent layers of muscle lose their ability to slide across one another effectively. The resulting pain always causes inhibition, weakness in muscles. Women soon learn to avoid contracting the painful muscles and develop faulty muscle recruitment patterns. This directly destabilizes the back and indirectly destabilizes the entire body. Damage to the pelvic floor is a common occurrence during pregnancy. The muscles can become damaged from the stretch pressure due to the expanding womb or from an episiotomy. There may also be damage to nerves, leaving the pelvic floor disabled to varying degrees. Because the pelvic floor, deep abdominal, deep back, and diaphragm muscles all work as part of a system, when the muscles of the pelvic floor are damaged, the result may be the inability to properly use the abdominal wall muscles. After about 6 to 12 months, a woman with this dysfunction will typically have what I call a heart bottom syndrome. When the pelvic floor becomes dysfunctional, the smaller portion of the butt muscles, gluteus maximus, fibers located by the pelvic floor, become hyperactive as they assist in destabilizing the pelvis and its contents. This leads to atrophy of the larger butt muscles and prominence of the gluteus medius muscles, butt muscles on the sides. If you think you have heart bottom syndrome, I highly recommend consulting a Czech practitioner or a physical therapist skilled in restoration of pelvic floor and abdominal wall dysfunction. It's important to understand that heart bottom syndrome places you at a far greater risk of the orthopedic and visceral injury when exercising and performing daily tasks because you cannot effectively stabilize your spine. My approach: to restore abdominal muscles to their optimal length, follow this protocol. 1. Eat correctly for your primal pattern type. 2. Eat high-quality foods and drink adequate water. 3. Perform the core function test and corresponding corrective exercises. If you follow this protocol for 4 weeks and don't see improvement, consult a Czech practitioner for a comprehensive assessment. Overcoming back pain during exercise. Since back pain during exercise is common today, trainers should be taught to identify red flags, which are indicators that the body is at greater risk of injury. Once recognized, modifications to correct the situation should be initiated immediately. In order to help you avoid potential injury, carefully consider the following common causes of back pain when exercising. Muscle imbalances. When a muscle becomes short and tight, the antagonist opposite muscles often become long and weak. This creates an imbalance in the body. To quickly determine if this is the case, simply try stretching any tight muscle in the region where you're feeling discomfort. If this helps your performance, you're probably balancing your muscles. If the relief is only short term, you may need to stretch the tight muscles between each set while resting. The body often learns these faulty recruitment patterns. You'll have to repeatedly stretch the tight muscles until it relearns the correct recruitment sequence. If this doesn't work, you'll need the help of a skilled check practitioner or rehabilitation professional trained in assessment of the musculoskeletal and visceral systems. Bulging discs. It's estimated that up to 70% of the population has an undiagnosed bulging disc in the neck or back. Yet many of these